welcome to Whole Brain Functioning. My name is Annie Jubb, and I'm joined today with my husband David, soon to be Dr. David Jubb. He's just finishing off his doctoral research. Today we're going to be talking about the life force inside of food and what we call live food nutrition. So, David, why don't you give us a good definition of what live food nutrition means?
Well, live food is a finer distinction in the raw food movement. Maybe you've heard about eating raw food. Live food is raw food only having its life principle. And today we're going to show you a couple of plates and things to show you how food actually has a life force. And a lot of food that people are eating in the raw food movement has less than really has its life force, actually. Carrots and beets and corn and the grain, even if it was sprouted, for the most part, is missing vital electrics. And when these foods are broken down, they're broken down to a sugar which the liver doesn't recognize, this sugar. This sugar sprints right past the liver without the liver really being able to recognize this, and this really causes some major challenges for people.
So most people on health food would consider a glass of carrot juice to be really, really helpful and very healthy. And in fact, it's much better than any kind of a soda or a canned beverage, of course. However, in the distinction that we're making here in live food nutrition is that actually there are hybrid foods and there are non-hybrids. So
live food basically is food which you can find in a semblance of this food growing wild in nature. We cannot find an semblance of corn, wheat, rice, potatoes, carrots, beet. The starch vegetables, for the most part, you cannot really find an semblance of these foods growing wild in nature.
Right, whereas wild foods that are growing in the wild in nature, that you find them, you can wildcraft these foods, they have just an amazing amount of electrics to them.
Okay, so the foods, you can find an semblance of cabbage, you can find an semblance of broccoli, you can find an semblance of
asparagus,
onion, and things like this. These are really not hybrid foods. A hybrid food is a food which really won't be able to reproduce itself really in nature. And one of the major reasons why the food less than can reproduce itself is because it's missing these vital electrics that would cause it to be able to sustain itself in nature. So the definition of live food is food which you can find in a semblance of these foods growing wild in nature. Even though they may be grown on a farmer's field, you can find an semblance of these foods grown wild in nature. So there are foods which have its life force, which is easily digested. So basically that's the definition of live food.
So food that has its life force in it, that means basically uncooked, fresh raw fruits and vegetables, right? And sprouted things as well, and some ferments.
That we can find in the semblance of those foods found growing wild in nature.
Right.
So Annie, at the start of the program, said, well, what about carrot juice? Carrot juice is really touted as a health food, and wheatgrass is touted as a health food. And even though there are some benefits from these foods, both of those foods are missing vital electrics, and the sugar from these foods sprints right past the liver and without being recognized as a sugar. And this is a major challenge for the body because it eventually causes an acidosis of the body. It causes hypoglycemia, which is low blood sugar, which many people actually are suffering from, and it causes bile stones to form. So today, for the most part, in this segment that we're talking about here, we're talking about live food nutrition, which is a component of whole brain functioning. It's one teaching in whole brain functioning. Whole brain functioning meaning verbal and non-verbal, including nutrition and every other pattern. So whole brain functioning relates to verbal and non-verbal patterns that allow us to live in the whole of ourselves. And so nutrition causes us to live more in the whole of ourselves, and this live food nutrition causes us to be able to live more in the whole of ourselves by causing us to be more alkaline, our tissue to be slightly more alkaline than what most people's tissue is, and the pH of the blood to be just perfect. There is a neurological threshold which our brain activity peaks, and we really have excellent ability to be able to go into areas of the brain and things like this, and also a kind of a feeling of a high somewhat in life, a feeling of being elevated in life. And it is interesting that all of the substances which would have caused a person to feel kind of high are alkaloids. Most of these are alkaloids, and when we alkalize the brain, we naturally are feeling high. So people eating live food naturally feel high.
So one of the things that we talk a lot about with live food nutrition is the life force inside of food. And actually, when there's some really cool toys that you can do now, like a Curly & Field camera, where you can take a photograph. Maybe you've seen these at the health fairs and stuff. You can be photographed at the health fair, and they'll show you the different auras, you know, the color of the aura that comes out of each of us. And just in a few minutes, we're going to show you some pictures of food that's been photographed with the Curly & Field photography. And you can get a really good idea about the life force inside of the food. Whenever food is cooked, enzymes die inside of the food. The enzymes, you could kind of say, is like the life force of the food itself. And so huge difference between a raw food and a cooked, or a live food and a cooked food. The enzymes are alive in the live food, and they're not there in the dead food.
So L-I-F-E, life food, and this life force, I'm going to show you a picture of a leaf, and you're going to see the energy field of the leaf, basically. And this next shot that I'm going to show you, basically the stem of the leaf remains, but the outer leaf here is torn away, and yet the viewer, you're going to see the life force of that leaf still. This life force...
still quite strong, huh? Even though the leaf has been torn away, that's just the stem, and it has the pattern still of itself as it was in its whole self.
So isn't it very amazing that life begets life and dead begets dead, basically? And if you're interested to live a longer life and you're caring to live life more abundantly, then we're recommending that you would consider bringing in the life force also. And it is amazing that most people in nutrition up to this point have been counting empty, dead, skeletonized calories. And so the next shot that Annie's getting ready here for us to look at is actually a shot of a person's hands.
This is one of my favorite pictures, actually, because it really gives you an idea of the kind of vitality that comes out of a person. I remember doing trainings years ago and learning about how vast and far the field around each of us extends from the actual physical body. It's our energy body and how large that can be. And this is a nice graphic example of this.
So, you know, this first picture that you can see here, this top one, there's a person's hands, basically, who's eating food which has its electrics, versus this bottom picture, which you really cannot see.
You can hardly even see this.
Any pattern at all there. This is really the electricity, the amplitude of electricity that we have in our body. We have to have quite an amplitude of electricity in the body to be able to get into our left hemisphere of the brain, which is connecting us with each other through virtue of the language exchange. And also, this is the hemisphere majorly that's involved in kinesthetic motor movements and getting up and going and moving and sequenced behavior. This connects us with the outside world, this hemisphere. It is the very most outer aspect of our neurology, and we really require quite an amplitude of electricity, as shown in the hands of this person, to really be able to get properly into this hemisphere. Many people truly have been eating empty, dead, skeletonized calories are less than really living in the whole of themselves.
Okay. So go ahead and show the other picture too. Just we're wrapping up this.
I know.
We're going to go to a break in a minute,
I'm just going to show
you.
This is corn. This is the energy field of corn, which really doesn't have much energy field. Of course, this is cornflakes. No energy field at all.
Nothing there at all, really.
No, nothing at all. Life begets life, and dead begets dead. Whilst we have this life force, the whole body is animated, and eventually, when we less than have this life force here, the body is just like a skeleton, basically, anything more or less that you would find inanimate on the ground. So whilst we have this electricity, we really have life. And so, in the shows that we have coming up, you should stay tuned and make sure that you're you're tuned into the cable TV, we're going to be appearing more regularly, talking about whole brain functioning and how you can live more in the whole of yourself. And the segments that we're going to do today, we're going to talk a little bit more about live food nutrition.
So stay tuned, we're coming right back and we're going to show you some more curling fields of live food. Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Annie Jubb and this is my husband David. And be sure to look for us actually on your cable television, your community television cable station, because we're going to be coming on rather regularly here soon too. Just as we were taking a break there, David was playing his Pueblo flute for us. Do you want to tell us just a minute about what the Pueblo flute is?
Well, it's very amazing actually. That flute that you saw, especially the long one that I played, that's a typical Native American flute. For some 23 years now, I've had this teacher, and we incorporate quite a bit of the Native American teaching in things. It's really quite beautiful music, you know. I love flute music.
Okay, so just before we went away, we were showing you some photographs of what Curly and field photography can enlighten us to in terms of what is the life force inside of food. And David showed us about the handprints and some of the some pictures of food, right, with the corn and then the corn and then corn flakes. And so we wanted to show you some of the other plates too that would give you a graphic demonstration of exactly what is the value of eating living foods, and the difference actually between cooked foods and living foods in terms of the digestion.
Here. We have a few plates here, and if you're less than, if you're squeamish a little bit, maybe you might like to close your eyes when we do show up this plate, because actually we're going to show pictures of debris which has been removed from the intestinal tract. Basically, people have defecated that out, and it is like the lining and debris that is in most people's digestive tracts. You know, if you put your hands around your waist, basically, you can go to your waist and you can pull out kind of whatever fat there is that you have around your waist. That's adipose tissue. But then any expansion of the girth past the point of these rolls of fat here, it actually is taken up by debris on the inside of the intestinal tract.
Wow. And where do you see what that looks like?
And at the start of this show, we talked a little bit about hybridized food and life food, and food which has its life force in it. And we said that food which really less than has its life force in it, like the grain, most of the grains, carrots and beet, the starch vegetables and the starch fruits, like banana and potato happen to be, you know, most people's favourite foods. So I hope
they're high glycemic rate foods, though. We need to pay careful attention to them. But more that
everybody is kind and gentle, right? Because we're going to be mentioning food, and it could be talking about somebody's favourite food.
So these are not the villains, actually. I mean, the hybridized foods that we're talking about are something to really pay attention to. But the foods that we're going to show you that is removed out of people's intestinal tract is actually, what kind of foods are this? It's cooked
It's banana,
food,
it's potato, it's rice, it's wheat, it's corn, it's carrots, it's beet, it's all the foods
pasta,
which are not like
noodles,
cooked foods, which are leaving basically a mucus and hardened mucoid layers stones form in the bladder. And let's just talk just a tiny little bit about if Annie would have drank carrot juice, basically the carrot juice is going to come on down into the stomach, and basically sugar is going to be released pretty much immediately into the bloodstream, and this is not hardly regulated by the liver at all, which is over on this side here. And basically, you could imagine actually that food is passing into the tummy and it is in an acid form when it's in a stomach area here. When it passes through the pyloric sphincter at the very base of the stomach, it passes into the beginning of the small intestine. In this place here, it's fairly acidic, and it's supposed to be neutralized by alkaline elements that's coming from the liver and from the pancreas. But if you've done these foods, which we talked about, the starch vegetables and things, and starch fruit like banana, it typically causes stones to form. In another program, maybe we can really talk about actually how specifically these stones form and things. But basically, if stones form in the bladder of the liver, basically the liver is releasing around about a litre or so, a couple litres of fluid, passing into the bile bladder. The liver is the factory and irrigation sewer treatment facility, basically, for the intestinal tract.
Intestinal tract.
And it's cleansing the blood. It is the major organ of detoxification, cleansing the blood. Most people's blood flow to the liver can be reduced remarkably and can be improved enormously if we can clear out some of this debris. So whilst there are stones there, it means that blood flow through the liver is less than occurring as well as what it could. And if you will tune into a program, one of our programs, it's possible to learn how to do a gallbladder flush. It's also possible for people to perhaps come to some of our free lectures that we have in the city in Manhattan.
That's right. Every Tuesday night, just about every Tuesday night, we have a free lecture at 8 o'clock at 208 West 13th Street. It's right across the street from Integral Yoga at the big community center there. Just come in and ask for David and Annie Jubb, and the live food nutrition lecture that we do. We focus primarily on nutrition, but we cover a broad range of topics. And there's always something really interesting, and there's a great group to network with there. So come and join us anytime. And let's have a look at some of the material that you might be getting rid of or letting go of if you decide to come and do some of our fasts, some of our cleansing programs.
This kind of material, actually, we first of all always work above the diaphragm, and we clear the organs above the diaphragm first before we start to go to work to clear the organs and the intestinal tract below. So the very first order of business is the organs above the diaphragm, and what Annie is showing up for everybody here is debris that is in the intestinal tract, and we can tell basically where this has come from by the shape of it, more or less. This is colon material here, basically. Mostly we have diverticulitis kind of pockets. You can see this is the whole lining slothed off. That's why parasite flushes only can really work once you flush these stones out, you start to clear out some of this debris, and then it's possible that parasite flushes and things to clear away parasites in the body, like you could bring in some herbs and things to clear away parasites, only really work finally when this debris is cleared away. Most people actually have a false lining, and there's parasites and all sorts of things that are hiding out in this sort of debris, which only once this is sloughed off and cleared away from the body really does the parasite flush actually work.
Mm-hmm. We've designed a number of flushes, and David mentioned the parasite flush. We mentioned the gallbladder the flush as well. So just kind of in a little nutshell, we'll give you, most people don't realize that actually you can remove all of the stones from the gallbladder while keeping your gallbladder inside of your body. Most of the AMA says, well, you've got stones, let's pull out that gallbladder. You won't need it anymore. Well, that's totally incorrect. You can usually heal the gallbladder the same way that it became injured in the first place, by removing the debris, getting rid of the stones, and there's a really simple program for this.
Several colleagues, their favorite operation used to be gallbladder removal, and in the last 16 years that we've been talking about this to them, they haven't performed a single gallbladder removal, and every person who has come to them has been healed through a process of doing a gallbladder flush.
It's amazing, really. I mean, I don't know exactly what it would cost you today if you were even entertaining a gallbladder operation.
I think it's about $22,000.
Yeah, you know. It's like you can buy a house for that, right? And
those surgeons, she or he is really not going to do quite as good a job as what is possible if you really do a gallbladder flush and actually have harness nature to help pull these stones out.
Right,
basically.
And the gallbladder flush basically costs, I think even if you buy the highest quality grade oil, I mean, it would cost you $20 tops, and a couple of days of your time, a couple of days of fasting, and that's about it. So it's a really simple, elegant program.
Our gallbladder flush typically takes 14 days. I know there's lots of programs out there that it's possible maybe you could do something like that in a lesser time. But since the late 60s that we've been putting this program together, we've looked at many programs, and you could say that Annie and my work is sort of eclectic. We've brought together a synthesis of the very best, and after seeing many people go through this process, we really have refined the process, and for the most part, you know, this is done over 14 days, and typically a person would do what we call a nutritional fast, which means no solid food, no starch, no flesh, no cooked food, and no breakfast. So basically food that's put in the blender that's not cooked and not flesh and not starch, you could put anything in the blender and blend this down, and providing you're not breaking fast, meaning you're not eating breakfast, you hydrate your blood in the morning, you do this nutritional fast, and basically just the short of it, you know, of course you could call the number and it's possible to get some more information about this.
And actually, we have a number of helpful people too that we can point you towards. We're training a large group of people that we call Phoenix physicians to help guide people through fasts. It's really quite a program. We have a number of recipe books and books that explain this philosophy and the things that we're talking about a little bit today. Anyway, but stay tuned for us because we're going to be coming back and doing more programs on this community television cable station. And I would like to welcome you. My name is Annie Jubb, and this is David, and have a really, really lovely day, and good health to you.